Before applying any makeup, you want to make sure that your face is free of any dirt or any oil or whatsoever. You just want to make sure that your face is really clean before you proceed to apply anything to your face. And the way to do that is by, or one of the ways to do that is by using your wipes and micellar water, or you can just use your wipes alone if you would prefer to do that. And that is just what I was doing here. Then also before applying your foundation or before you apply any products to your face, you want to make sure you have a good skin prep. You want to make sure you have a good foundation. I like to call it foundation because I feel like that's what will make your makeup last. So in order to make your makeup last like make your makeup last longer, you want to have a good skin prep. And so you want to use your moisturizer and your primer to start your skin prep or to do your skin prep. And your moisturizer essentially hydrate your face, and your primer is to help your makeup have a good base. So depending on your skin type, you want to get a primer that works for your skin. So like if you have a oily skin or if you have a dry skin, then you want to get a primer that that is matte if you have an oily skin. And if you have a dry skin, you want to get a primer that has a good balance. And one of the good or affordable primer I can suggest right now is Elf is good. Also Milk is also a good primer. Urban Decay is also a good primer that you can use depending on your skin type. So that's just what I was doing here essentially. And so for your moisturizer, you just want to apply it all over your face. Like I said, your moisturizer is to just help hydrate your face properly before you start applying products like your foundation, your concealer, and all that stuff. So after your moisturizer, you want to prime your face. So those are the T-zone areas that I was pointing to. You prime your T-zone areas: your forehead, the bridge of your nose, under your eyes, and your chin. Watch me point to your T-zone area. Those are the T-zone area. Those are the places you want to prime. The places light reflect on. The places that easily get oily. Those are the places you want to prime. And so that was just what I was doing here. So you want to prime those parts of your face. And then when you are trying to like blend those primer, take it outwardly so that it can reach other parts of the face when you are priming it. Take it outwardly, like the way I was doing, the way I was taking it out. I was doing that so that I can reach, so that I can also like prime other part of the face. But my major focus are the T zone areas to prime. After you've allowed your skin prep to dry, you want to move on to applying your foundation next. And so when you're applying your foundation, you want to make sure that your foundation is your exact shade. You don't want your foundation to be darker or lighter than your normal skin shade or your normal skin tone. You want to make sure that your foundation shade is exactly your skin color. And that's the beauty of having the right shade of foundation, because the foundation is just to enhance your skin, it's just to beautify your skin more. It's not to change your skin color or change your skin, change your skin type. So you want to make sure that your foundation is your exact shade when you are applying your foundation. And depending on your preference, you can either use a brush or a beauty sponge to blend your foundation. But you want to make sure that you have a smooth application. Like your when you are blending, just make sure you blend smoothly. There are no harsh lines. Like like people never notice, if that makes sense. Like your foundation should look like a rich skin. In that sense, that's the beauty of having the right shade of foundation. So you want to make sure that your foundation is your right shade, and you want to get, and if you don't have your exact foundation shade, you can mix foundation like I did here in this video. I mix two foundations together to get our exact skin color, and you can also do that if you don't have your exact foundation shade. So you can mix foundations together to get your exact skin shade, but you just want to make sure that it is the right foundation for you. It is the right foundation, it is the right tone that you are applying, because it will really go a long way for your makeup, and it will beautify your makeup more if your foundation is your exact shade. After applying your foundation, you want to set your face using your setting spray. So your setting spray is going to help lock that foundation in before you move on to the next step. And you also want to make sure it is dried before you apply your concealer. And so for concealer, I like to use a shade lighter. But depending on your preference, if you are someone that like a really bright under eyes, you can go for 2 shades lighter than your normal skin color. But I prefer to use a shade lighter. And here I was using Elf. Elf is also actually a good one that you can use. It is affordable and it is really good. It has a full coverage, and I would recommend that you can also buy Elf if you are looking to buy a concealer. And so, like I said, a shade lighter or 2 shades lighter than your normal skin color. That's the concealer you want to buy. And primarily, you want to apply concealer on those places that you primed. If you remember, you primed your T-zone areas. So those are the same places that you're going to highlight, right? Those are the same places you're going to highlight. You're going to highlight those T-zone area. You're going to put the concealer there. You're going to highlight that place. So that's just what I was doing here. So I was going to apply a cream blush here, and this is totally optional. If you don't want to apply a cream blush, or if you don't have a cream blush, this is an optional step in the makeup. But before you actually like blend that concealer, before you actually blend the highlighted place, you want to make sure that you allow it like set for like 5 seconds or thereabouts before you actually blend it. But if the concealer you're using is like a really like it dries really quick, I would advise that you don't allow it, wait for 5 seconds before you blend it, because if not, it will be difficult for you to blend it. But like I said, applying a cream blush is totally optional if you don't want to. But this is the place that you apply a blush to, in your cheekbone area, the higher part of your cheekbones. That's where you apply a blush to. After blending your concealer properly well, the next thing is you want to contour. So the places I'm pointing to are the places that you're going to contour. You're going to contour your forehead, your cheekbone, and your nose. So those are the places you are going to be contouring. And for contour, you want to use a shade darker or 2 shades darker depending on your preference, but I would advise that you don't make your contouring too dark, then that would be dramatic. You just want to contour using a shade, preferably a shade darker or 2 shades darker. And yeah, I was just using a shade darker to contour those places pointed out to. Those are the places you're going to contour, including the nose. Still using the same shade I used to contour the forehead and the cheekbone, I was going to contour the nose here. And I want you to please pay close attention to how I contoured the nose, because you don't want your nose contour to look like a straight line. You want to blend as you are applying your cream concealer. You want to blend as you're applying your contour. You want to blend as you're applying. Blend and apply. Remember that. Blend and apply. Blend and apply. You want to set your face with your setting spray again before you move on to the next step. And you want to also make sure that your face is dried before applying the next step. So now to set the places I highlighted and contoured, I was going to use a pressed powder to do that before I actually go in with a setting powder. So the same way you used a shade that was lighter than your normal skin shade to highlight, you're going to also use a pressed powder that is also a shade lighter than your normal skin shade to set that place that you just highlighted, which is your T-zone area. That was what I was doing in this part of the video. I was using that pressed powder a shade lighter to just set those places before I actually like move on to the next step. So I was going to set the face first of all using a pressed powder that was a shade lighter to highlight that place, and then I was going to do the same for the contouring side. I was going to use a powder that is a shade darker, or a bronzer, to just set the contouring, and then you can now like proceed to the next step. There is also something I like to do, which is to set those places that I did not, highlight or contour, which is, that part of the face where I am actually applying powder to right now. So I like to apply my normal shade of powder, like a powder that is my exact shade. I like to use that powder to just set those places that I did not highlight or I did not contour. And that was just what I was doing here. I was using a powder that was the exact shade of my model to just set those places also, because you also want your face to have enough powder to have enough coverage, all over your face. You don't want one particular part of your face looking, more enhanced than the other. So you want everything to look balanced. So I just like to set that place also with a powder that is my exact shade. To also set those places that I contoured, you can use a bronzer or a powder that is a darker shade, a shade darker or two shades darker. And that's just what I was doing here. I was setting those parts that I contoured with a powder, with a pressed powder, which was what I said earlier, that I like to set with a pressed powder before I actually use a setting powder. And this will actually help your makeup, bring out more beauty and help to avoid any cakey makeup or any ash lines. So you just want to set those places well before moving on to the next step. The next step now is to bake your face using your setting powder. So I was going to you are going to use a powder puff to apply that, and you want to dust out the excess by, just you can use the back of your hand to dust out the excess before you apply, so that you avoid your setting powder to you avoid it being cakey, because once it's cakey, it kind of affects the way the makeup will look, and it might just cause a cut, like a breakup in the makeup, and you don't want that. So you want to apply your setting powder to bake your face, and you're basically going to apply the setting powder in those places you highlighted. Remember your T-zone areas. Those are the places you are going to apply your setting powder. Your T-zone areas, the places you primed, the places you highlighted, that is where you're also going to apply your setting powder again now. So to avoid my eyebrows from moving, or to avoid a stressful drawing of the eyebrows, I like to use a brow tamer to hold the eyebrows down while I am drawing it. So that way it gives me a better chance of drawing the eyebrows perfectly well, and it also avoids the hair or the eyebrows to like move while you're drawing it, if that makes sense. So a brow tamer, I mean, it's optional if you don't want it, but it just makes it easier for me to draw the eyebrows when I want to. So yeah. For your eyebrows, you want to draw your brows immediately where the line of the brows is stopping. You don't want to draw the brows like way below your hairline or way above your hairline. You want to start drawing like where that hair stops, where your hairline stops. You want to draw immediately, like underneath that hairline, and you want to trace your brows to how, like, you want to follow the shape of your brows to how your brows is. And if you notice, I wasn't starting from like the really front or like the very beginning of the brows, because if you start that way, you'll be giving your brows like this box, like square kind of brows, and you don't want that. You want your brows to look as natural as possible. And you also want to make sure that your pencil is really sharpened. If you're using a pencil that needs to be sharpened, make sure that your pencil is really sharpened when you're drawing your eyebrows. And make sure that you also, like, if you're using a pencil that is rolling, like um all those pencils that you have to roll, make sure that you roll it up well a bit and just follow the shape of your eyebrows. And like I said, don't draw way above or way below your hairline. Start drawing from where the hairline stop and follow the shape of your brows. And if you have to like darken your eyebrows, you can use a pencil that is darker. That was just what I was doing in this part of the video. She didn't have hair in that part of the in that part of her eyebrow, so I was just using a darker pencil to fill in. So you want to fill in gently. You want to draw the line gently. You don't want to do anything harsh, right? Just do it gently. Draw the line gently. Follow the airlines, and that's the way you get like a perfect or a good eyebrows. To conceal your eyebrows, remember to use the same concealer or the same shade you use to highlight and to contour. That's what I am going to use to conceal those brows. So mostly you want to use the darker shade, the concealer you use to contour. You want to use it to conceal the upper part of the brows and also like the forefront of like the brows. If you look at the video close enough, you see me when I take the darker shade, and apply it towards like the beginning side. But mostly you just want to use the same concealer you used in highlighting and contouring to conceal that brow. The reason why I want to do that is so that you can give your brow a good definition. Like your brows is really defined, and it's popping and it's enhancing your makeup in that sense. So you want to conceal your brows. And it's totally optional if you don't want to conceal the upper part. But because of this video, I was going to conceal both the upper part of the brows and the lower part of the brows. So when you're done concealing, you want to make sure you blend those concealer properly into the eyelids before you proceed to applying your eyeshadow or doing any other thing. Make sure you blend it properly into those eyelids. And then you can also set that concealer using a powder. And most especially, you want to use the powder or the bronzer you use to contour your face to set those concealer properly into those eyelids. So like I said earlier, you want to set that concealer with a powder, a darker shade of a powder, most especially the powder you use to set your contouring. You want to use it to set that concealer, but just a little bit of powder. Then you can now proceed to your eyeshadow. And I was going to be starting my eyeshadow using a matte natural looking eyeshadow to start as my transitioning. And really, for eyeshadow, is up to you, it is your preference. It depends on how you want to do your eyeshadow, but there's like a step to applying eyeshadow. You want your application to be smooth, you want to have a clean application of eyeshadow. So eyeshadow is based on your preference. If you are someone that likes a popping color, loud color, or if you're someone that just like a really soft, natural looking eyeshadow, then that's totally fine. So eyeshadow is just really based on how you want to do it. I don't know how best to explain, but I feel like eyeshadow is just based on your preference, based on what you want. If you want a smoky eye, if you want a bold eye, if you want, it's just up to you. So I really like to play with colors anytime I'm doing eyeshadow. And I just really like playing with colors, like I said. And I was trying to use the eyeshadow palettes to give like a smoked, like a smoke, like a cat eye kind of look, but it wasn't working. But it's a trick that I always use, but it wasn't just working on this day. I tried to use it again. But like I said, applying eyeshadow is just up to you. It is your preference, however you want to do it. If you want a bold eye shadow, is natural glam, go for it. Go for it, girl. Do you? Okay. Please make sure you dust off every eyeshadow fallout on your face before you continue. You can do that by using a small brush. Please dust it off before you continue with your eyeshadow application. And so yeah, I was just going to use a shimmer. So a shimmer is like it's kind of like a pigmented eyeshadow. It has this shining look to it. And so I was going to use a shimmer in the middle of our eyes, in the middle of our eyelids. I just wanted a bit of color on this particular day, so I was going to go in with a shimmer and just apply the shimmer on our eyelid right there. So one of the tricks to making your shimmers pop on your eyes is by making sure that your brush is a little bit wet, not too wet in that sense, like just a little bit damp. And when you do that, it's going to make your shimmers, really pop. Like this is a good trick, guys, and I want you guys to try it. I want you to try it out. Make sure like you apply Make sure your brush is ready to be wet before you go in with your shimmers to apply. It's going to change your eyeshadow look. It's going to change it because it's going to pop. And then you can also go in with a lighter shade to just put it on the eyelids. It's really, really going to pop that eyeshadow look. Before I apply my lipstick, I always make sure that I line the lips properly. The reason why I do that is to give the lips more definition, and it also like gives the makeup a more better look in that sense when your lips is like more defined, and it also helps in your application so that you know how you're applying your lips, like lipstick rather, sorry, so that you don't go way above your lips or way below it. I feel like lining the lips gives it more definition, and it also helps you to apply that lipstick properly, and it just gives it a more finished, a more smooth, and a more beautiful look overall. So always make sure you line your lips before you actually go in with whatever lipstick shade you want to use. I'm so sorry. I did not know I wasn't recording the part where I dusted off the setting powder and applied more powder and blush to the face. But if you notice and if you look at this part, I already took off the setting powder and applied more powder and applied blush. And I was just applying I was just applying a lip gloss to make the lips more popping. So yes, so before you finish your makeup, always make sure you dust off the setting powder and apply blush and any other thing that you feel like applying to your makeup. And the way you dust off the setting powder is by using that same powder shade that you use to set the concealer. So I'm talking about the powder that is a shade lighter, and when you're done you want to set your face, and voila, that's it guys. That's it, and this is the finished look. This is the finished look. This is the finished look, guys. I'm really proud of this makeup, and I really hope that you learned one thing or you learned something at least, even if it's that you learned how to apply just foundation, or you learned how to apply a concealer, or you learned how to contour. It really goes a long way, and it is really going to make me happy to know that you learned something. Please feel free to make a video of yourself when you apply your makeup and send it to me. I would love to see I would love to see your makeup. I would love to see what you did just by watching this video. So thank you for joining. I really appreciate. Bye bye, and I will close here.